Good night. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I'm here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. Go ahead and put your questions in the comments now. So tonight, I just want to talk to you about a developing situation. So right now, we've just gotten news today that a U.S. citizen has been detained under the law unauthorized aliens law that's in Florida. So this law was passed in February, and the law stated that any immigrants who enter the United States who have no proof of entry into the United States, they came in without inspection. Any immigrant who enters Florida is going to be charged with a misdemeanor, right? However, early in April, a federal judge, stopped this law. They said they put an injunction on this law, stating it cannot be enforced. However, today, not only did they arrest somebody under a law that is on hold, they arrested a US citizen. So this law is not, police were not supposed to make any arrest under this law. Now, what's alarming about this situation is that we have seen first at the administration level, we're seeing them disregarding court orders regarding stopping immigration. They have rejected and refused to cooperate with Supreme Court order to return Mr. Garcia from El Salvador. And here in Florida, we have a federal judge that put a hold on a criminal law, and yet somebody was arrested under that law that is supposed to be on hold. Not only was just anybody arrested, a US citizen. It shows blatant disregard for the individual, because it shows that they're not arresting people based on just solely their immigration status. Even if the law was enforceable, they're arresting people based on the fact of how they look. The name of this young man, I believe he's about 19 years old, is Juan Carlos Lopez Gomez. And if you look at his picture, you will see very clearly that he was arrested based on how he looked. It was not based on his actual immigration status. Now, it gets worse, guys, because when his mother and another supporter went to court when he was being arraigned for these charges that he should have never been arrested for, the judge dismissed the criminal charges against him. And they showed the judge that he is in fact a US citizen by showing his social security card and his birth certificate. The judge is recorded as looking at this and saying, yes, these documents are authentic. It appears as if Mr. Gomez is a US citizen. But guess what? I'm so sorry, but we've dismissed the charges, but we cannot release him because ICE has put a hold on him, despite him showing his US citizenship. This is scary because in combination with the disobeying the order of the Supreme Court to return somebody from El Salvador, now we have a US citizen who is at the mercy of ICE. It's developing. We have to see what's happening. Right now we're seeing protests forming in front of the courthouse in Leon County in Florida. But what could potentially happen is, say ICE takes him in, and then say ICE just decides to send him to El Salvador, right? Say this is not fact, but just say they come up with a reason that they're going to send him out of the country without due process, without verifying again what his status is. They send him to El Salvador. Guess what? The administration can then say that this is a matter of foreign affairs and they don't have any control to bring a US citizen back because he's within the jurisdiction of another country. That's the argument they're making about Mr. Garcia. And the Supreme Court and the appellate court and the district courts are all seeing it for what it is. Right now, we have a district court that is now considering holding the administration in criminal contempt if they do not show why they shouldn't be held in contempt. So now that is happening at the district court level. And an appeals court stated the Trump administration went to an appeals court and said that asked the court to put a stop on the proceedings for Mr. Garcia in El Salvador. The court unanimously, that means all the justices in that court, right? Whether conservative, remember there are mixed between conservative and liberal judges. And right now, it shouldn't even be about that. It shouldn't be about liberal, conservative. This is about our Constitution. The judges unanimously, in a very, very powerful opinion, stated that, refused him and stated that at this time, they have to look at the repercussions of giving him that kind of authority to send people out of the country without due process, without any recourse and way to return. It's a very scary thing that's happening. Now we have this developing situation, and this is what we feared. This is exactly what we feared, that the kinds of policies that are frankly against the Constitution are not going to just affect immigrants, but it's going to affect citizens. And we see here, we have President Trump on camera stating homegrowns are next, right? Meaning US citizens are next for El Salvador. It's and keep in mind that if Mr. Garcia is a gang member, he needs, first of all, no criminal charges, right? They just on a point system. So this is based on a points system that they gave him with 8 and up being a go-ahead to send them to El Salvador as gang members. They said, okay, he had a certain tattoos, that's 4 points. He had attire that they deem to be linked to gangs, right? Lord knows what that is. He was wearing a Chicago Bulls hat. That was another 4 points, and that sealed the deal, where he was sent to El Salvador as a gang member. And this is nothing more than making it very easy for them to meet their quota, brand people as gang members, and send them out to El Salvador, to a facility that will hold them for indefinitely. So we have to see how this works out. But what I can say now is we are officially, yes, exactly, a hat and tattoos. That's exactly right. That's not even due process. So here's what is happening now. We are entering, we're not entering, we are there. We are in a crisis. Because what's happening here is they are trying to reduce the power of the judicial branch. We have 3 branches. We have the legislative, the judicial, and the executive branch, right? And they're supposed, in the US government, they're supposed to serve as checks and balances, right? If the president or the executive branch is breaking the law, violating the Constitution, then the other branches are supposed to step in and put a stop to that, control that. But what we are seeing here is an unprecedented move by this administration to reduce the significance and the power of the judicial branch and then threaten the legislative branch, which is Congress, from opposing any of Trump's policies and voting for them. So we are in a crisis. And right now, I see where the courts are rising to the occasion. But we have to, this is unprecedented. And the at this point, it has to escalate to criminal contempt. And then from there, we have to then see how the courts are going to exercise that power. But this is where it's going. And the judges right now are the only ones standing between uh, the Trump administration and the annihilation of our constitutional rights. So we are there. We are in a crisis. And now with a US citizen being detained and with a judge holding the criminal law saying it cannot be applied, but yet the police are still arresting people, still arrested a US citizen under this law, it once again shows a blatant disregard for a court order. So I'm going to keep you posted, but this is what's happening. And we all should be worried, whether we're US citizens, whether we are, we have our legal status here, whether we are undocumented, we all are in this together because we are all facing the same type of threat. It's not based on our immigration status, it's based on the way we look, right? If you look like a gang member, and keep in mind, he said homegrowns. So the next thing we'll be hearing is the homegrown gang members are going to be sent to El Salvador. And based on what the Trump administration is saying is, oh, I'm so sorry, but we don't have any way to, get them back. That's really up to the president of El Salvador. Yep, no one is safe. That is right. So as citizens, I know we're 2 years old. We, we as people have to speak out. We have to speak out. We have to use the power we have as citizens to speak out, and we have to take action. Where we can vote, vote. Pay attention to your local elections. Pay attention to the state elections. Pay attention to national elections. Do not sleep on them, because this is how we make a change. We get people into Congress, into the government, into local government who can make a difference, who will be our voice. The other thing is, in the midterm elections, you need to start sharing. Need to start sharing information like this, sharing with others why they should be worried, why this affects them. Because this is exactly why we're in this situation to begin with. We're in this situation because people voted for this man thinking it wouldn't affect them. So keep that in mind. We are really going into untested territory, and I'll keep you posted on what's happening. So now what I am doing is also focusing on solutions for my clients. And with that being said, I want to see what questions you have for me about what you're going through, your current situation, and any immigration related questions that you have. All right, so it looks like everything is good on Instagram tonight, so that's great. Thanks for sharing the live. I appreciate it. Hi, I-130 still being processed. What is the wait time for a spouse of a U.S. citizen? So right now it's still saying 9 to 12 months for that. CCOT is terrifying. It absolutely is. It is terrifying. There should be no place like that. It's human rights violations that's happening there. So it's a concentration camp. It really is, because people don't go there to come out. And the president of El Salvador has said that himself. Okay, it's a place you go that they don't plan. And can you imagine one of the reasons they are not releasing Mr. Garcia is because if they release him, can you imagine the horrors that he would be able to relay to the American people? They're invested in keeping him silenced, and that is even more terrifying for him and his family. That is more terrifying. Yes, so and you know what? So SCOTUS gave a great deference to executive power, especially in foreign affairs. And let's also keep in mind that they created this monster. I can't imagine that for example, they basically said that anything he does in his executive position, so in his position as president, is he's immune, and that has emboldened him, right, to say, okay, well, what can be done? Can't be arrested. I mean, I deported the man, even though it was a mistake. I deported him based on my position as president, and I have already been given immunity for that. They created this monster, and now they have to look at reeling him in. And right now, they're kind of quiet, right? It's going back. I'm pretty sure it's going to go right back to them, the issue, because the Trump is already appealing the fact that trying to appeal the ongoing case of Mr. Garcia. Um, so it might go right back to them on that issue. Another thing, though, is the Court of Appeals just did another unanimous decision, meaning all of them agreed. So they're getting alarmed. They are definitely aware of the monster they created. Do I need a ton of evidence to prove good faith marriage if I came on K1 when filing for VAWA? So I would say definitely do not sleep on the evidence. Do you need a ton of evidence? I would say it depends on your case, but do you have powerful evidence? K1 is definitely a really good start. That the approval of the K1 visa, but you also want to show uh, ongoing evidence of the marriage. Depending on how long you were with them, did you sign a lease together? You need to still go move forward with showing that after the marriage, what kind of evidence can you show that you had a continuing good faith marriage? So I would say it's a good idea to still submit evidence. Thanks for the follow. I appreciate it. Um, our I-130 still being processed. What is the wait time for spouse? So I said that 9 to 12 months. I was granted asylum and I have a travel document, but I haven't applied for asylum green card. Can I travel? I would not travel at this time, especially when they're scrutinizing asylum applicants. They're backtracking. They're looking at cases to identify fraud. I would not use that travel document to travel. I would, but I'm not your attorney. I can't give you personalized legal advice. But just you know, from a general perspective, I am being extremely conservative. Why would don't if you really have to evaluate your risk. The risk is high right now, especially when you're traveling. And I don't know where you're traveling. Are you traveling back to your country? Because that's even worse on a travel document. So it just depends on the facts, but travel on a whole is just risky. I recently got my citizenship. Can I apply for my kid's passport? He's under 18. Yes. Now, if your child is under 18, they have also been here with residency, then they would automatically be a citizen. They're citizens right now, but of course, make sure you get the proof of citizenship. Thanks for the gifts. I appreciate it. I really do. Thank you. What's the best way to put together pictures for an interview with a binder? So a small album has worked really well. That has kept the pictures organized. You can When you do the pictures, I often instruct my clients to make sure they order the pictures um, chronologically. So, meaning from maybe the time you met all the way through to present. And these are just suggestions, but chronological order, different seasons, different times, different holidays, different friends and families that you take pictures with, family on your side, family on their side. Um, when you're putting pictures together, here's one red flag for the marriage base: you only show wedding photos. That's a big red flag. You only show wedding photos usually means to the officer you spent one day, took some fancy photos, and then you went your separate ways, and this is not a real marriage. So you don't want them to have that impression. So make sure you definitely show pictures across timelines, different holidays, different people, different places, different events in your life, just to represent who you are as a couple. Okay, so now I'm gonna hop over to YouTube and then we'll go to Instagram. So hang tight, put your questions in so I can catch up on your questions. Okay, this is a good question. Hi there, Jennifer. How long is one supposed to be trafficked for to be qualified for a T visa? I worked for a lady that lied to me to come babysit for her, and that she will file for me to get my papers through her facility. I was there for 2 months without pay. I'm so sorry. I had to leave to a friend's place. I'm so sorry. And while I cannot confirm until I speak to you directly whether this is trafficking, I can say this definitely is strongly pointing towards trafficking by fraud. Now, how long do you have to be trafficked? You can be trafficked for a day and you qualify. You could be trafficked for 50 seconds and you qualify, right? If you walked into the facility and the person told you, forced you to do work that you weren't willing to do, and that happened over an hour's period, you were trafficked, right? Before you said, oh no, and you left, you were trafficked. If you were forced to do something unwillingly and you, whether by fraud, whether by force, whether by coercion, they threatened you and you left within a day, um, it's trafficking. So there's no time limit, no time limit. If you experience that, it's time to give us a call. Happy birthday. Thank you so much. Thanks so much. I appreciate that. I loved all the birthday wishes I got. It was made me feel so inspired. So thank you. If you are not under parole program and apply for asylum, did the pause affect you from getting the work permit? No, they're pausing it based on those who are applying for the green card. So asylum is still there. They haven't paused it. I come to the USA without inspection through Mexico border. I can get green card through marriage. And do I have to leave the USA for the marriage interview? So this is a good question. Unfortunately, just based on these facts alone, coming across the border without inspection and then getting married to a US citizen is not going to fix the situation by helping you to stay here and getting your green card. You will likely would have to pursue a waiver to get forgiveness for the overstay, then go to an interview in the foreign country and then come back. Now, the only exceptions to this is if you were mistreated by a US citizen spouse, then in that case, there is what's called VAWA, and VAWA allows you to then apply while staying here in the US. But other than that, you're being petitioned for by your US citizen spouse. You're going to have to go the longer route, which is apply for a waiver, then go to the interview in the foreign country, and then come back. Now, you also have to know the risk involved, so definitely give us a call and let's talk about your options. I really would like to have a conversation with you. What document is required for T visa is that law informed is going to investigate at work where I abused. I'm afraid for law enforcement. I'm undocumented. I definitely understand your fear. And we work with these cases regularly. What I can tell you here is every case is different and our approach is going to be different just based on what our clients' goals are. With law, is law enforcement going to investigate? It is going to depend on a number of factors. In most cases, if my clients want law enforcement to investigate, then that might be a possibility. Sometimes that may not even be. But we approach the case in a way that our clients are protected. And oftentimes, if we have to work with law enforcement, they also take that into consideration. And what we do and what the advantage of having an attorney on this is to we help our clients. So we speak on behalf of our clients, which takes the fear and the stress away from them. We advise them along the way. We help them to understand how to go about the process. So this is the real advantage, and this is why this work is that we do. Not many attorneys do it because it is cumbersome work, it is complex work, and we do it well. But we do it well and we do it for our clients because we want to keep them safe and protected, and we aim to do that. So get in touch with us and then we can hear what your circumstances are and we'll be better able to advise you about your fears, the risk involved. But what I would say here, it's in your best interest to get protection for yourself, and we can definitely help you to do it in a way that is comfortable and reassuring. So get in touch with us. I came to the US legally. I recently heard that those who are in the US illegally have to register, and if you're not illegal, you have to pay $990. So my question is, do I have to register? So I would not know. Like, for example, those who came in on parole, an I-94, a visa, even if it's expired, don't have to apply register. Those who are currently going through adjustment of status applications don't have to register. Green card holders don't have to register. No, anybody who is 14 years, who's turning 14, who's 14 within 30 days of that have to register. Also, those who came into the country without permission, yes, they do have to register, as well as Canadians who are expected to stay longer than 30 days also have to register. As for the fine, we have to see how they plan to implement the fine, but the fine would be applied based on the general information that I looked into. The fine would apply to anybody who is here without papers or updated status. So that means those who are undocumented, those who overstay their visas. You are, well, no, sorry, I have it wrong. Those who, whether you overstayed your visa or you came into the country without permission, once you have a final removal order, that means a court has ordered you removed, then that $990 fine is going to apply day by day. If you are required to register, then yes, they're also going to apply a fine, I believe, of a maximum of $5,000 for that failure to register. And they have also stated that they're open to pursuing criminal charges for failure to file as well. So the other concern I have is if you have a pending application and you fail to register, that could actually be used once the enforcement is in full force of this registration. Then they can turn around and say, upon looking to make a final decision, we realize you did not register, and possibly start denying applications based on failure to file. But you have to first make sure, register to file. They're not going to just deny everybody, but those who were obligated to register, who did not, and then they have a pending application with the USCIS, and at that point now they use that as a way to justify a denial. So it's very important. We are talking to those who want to get specific advice about about the registration. You want to understand it. You want to understand the risk. Um, then you can definitely give us a call and we can talk to you. We can find your facts out. We are a safe space to be able to talk these things out so that whatever decision you make it fully informed, because ultimately any decision you make, you want to make sure that you are wise in that decision, and we can also help you to understand that. I came here 2019, went back home twice, then I was about to back home again, and I heard that I should stay because something will work out, so I stayed. I have overstayed in the US. So coming in with a visa, the registration requirement may not be there, but I'm not your attorney. I haven't looked at all your facts, so definitely give us a call and we can talk to you if that is something you're really worried about. Yeah, exactly. I mean, definitely we are under a dictatorship, and the only thing that is holding us uh keeping us away from a full-fledged dictatorship right now are the courts. The thing is, they need to follow through with decisive action. So this is something that they're not very used to doing, right? Especially when a branch of the government is refusing to comply. Okay, so I don't know if usually once we represent our clients, we definitely make sure that our clients' renewals go in. So if you're a current client, you're concerned about any renewals of work permits, definitely get in touch with us because we take care of that for our clients. Did any of your clients got VAWA interviews since they started calling in December? What cases are more likely to be called? So no, as of now, no, because what they're doing is they're looking, I believe what they're doing, which it could come soon, but what they're looking at are cases that maybe are red flagged for potential fraud. And so they want to make sure that it's not fraud through the questioning. All right. Hi there on Instagram. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining me. Thanks so much for the love on TikTok. I appreciate it. All right. So I'm going to go through questions. Those who have a work permit through asylum are also at risk. So having the work permit through asylum is definitely a good move, and definitely reassuring, because you can show that you have permission to be here. So it's better than having nothing. But I would say, based on what's going on, everybody is at risk. Everybody, no matter your immigration status at this point, legal immigrants who don't have their papers here. You really have to make sure you're walking around with the documents that you have to show that you have a pending process, that you have the ability to live and work here, you have your work permit. Make sure you have all of this with you, because even US citizens are now getting letters saying leave the country. These were claimed to be erroneous messages to these US citizens, but it is no less scary to get a letter like that with your name on it. And a US citizen was just detained coming from Canada into the US. They were detained for 5 hours. And this was an attorney, by the way, a real estate attorney, who was coming across as a US citizen, and they forced him to show his phone to them, right? And he's a US citizen. So this is where I say we all need to have proof of our what our current situation is, um, because that's where we are right now. It what we're seeing is that they're not showing a lot of uh, discretion in who they just grab, right? They're trying to meet a quota, and now it really looks desperate. What advice do you have for overseas person who doesn't have the real ID and want to travel local to Florida Memorial Weekend? I would say it's not safe in Florida. So do not come. They're scooping up people in traffic stops, and the police are working on behalf of ICE. Right now, even universities have joined on to work with ICE, university police, the universities. So that means university police are going to be stopping students and asking them for their immigration status, and they're going to be authorized to hold immigrant students, and have ICE pick them up. So Florida right now is really not a safe place for anybody who has a problem showing your immigration status. And I am seeing people being detained in traffic stops right now. So do you anticipate that this administration will target citizens living abroad by trying to revoke their citizenship because they live abroad, and in many instances, citizen himself? So that is not an immediate concern right now for me. I haven't heard an inkling of anything like that, that they're targeting any citizens living abroad. So right now, I would say that's not a concern. My cousin got approved. VAWA filed I-485 from January, but haven't gotten a response. What can he do? It's going to be a while. It could be another 6 months until he might get a request for evidence for his medical or something else, depending on what's on his file. And that remainder of the process could take 6 months to 12 months. So he might very well be scheduled for an interview. So it's going to be a while. It's not out of the ordinary for things to go a little quiet after the VAWA approval before you get something. Is it safe to travel to Jamaica, green card holder? So I'm getting this question a lot, and I would say if you're going to travel, green card holders have the right to travel, right? And I don't really want to try to create unnecessary fear in people, but hey, look what's happening, right? So what I would say here is, if you are going to travel, if you do make that decision to travel, make sure there's nothing of concern in your background that's going to cause them to stop you at the airport or stop you at the border. That's going to detain you. I would say the main concerns are criminal history. No matter how far back you have a criminal history, you're at an increased risk for getting a notice to appear and to get your green card revoked. Staying outside of the country too long. If you're a green card holder and you're trying to live in the US and in another country at the same time, you're at an increased risk of getting your green card revoked. If and I truly believe this is a right, but I do have to say it because it's what's happening now. Activism for causes that the administration opposes. So this is protected First Amendment right to protest, to state your opinions, your beliefs, to be an activist. If a green card holder is involved in that, they must make sure that they fully understand what the implications are, that they can understand, and even having a conversation with an attorney can help them to understand how to approach their activism if they are going to continue to be activists. Because activism is one, especially when it comes to the pro Palestinian movement, the anti Israel movement. They are going after people who have spoken out. So these are the areas of increased concern. I would say if you're going from the 2-year to the 10-year, and you're no longer married to the spouse, and you're trying to apply for a waiver, be careful as well. So those are the categories that I would say, if you're in that category, just think twice. You have the ability to travel, but make sure you're looking at your background and taking that into full consideration. I-485 still pending. Can I travel to San Francisco? And now, if you have the proper documents to go on a plane, you have your passport, you have your work permit, then it shouldn't be a problem as long as you can show that. But keep in mind, no matter where we are, whether we're traveling in the country or out, there's just an increased risk due to the increased vigilance of ICE, CBP. You also have to be mindful of potential risk. It's going to be lower, might be higher for some people, but keep that in mind. All right. So I've been here for months. I don't get my green card. Definitely get in touch with the USCIS and check in where that is. You need to call them directly. They said I-130 was approved. How long does it take for you to get back an answer after NVC? So usually within 2 weeks, you get a message from NVC. If the I-130 was approved and you're an immediate relative of a US citizen, then it should take about 2 weeks. However, if you're in another category and they're not ready to process your case yet at the NVC, basically to get it to the embassy, you may have to wait a while. So it's very important for you to understand your priority date. 42B approved. How long does it take to get the green card? Oh, congratulations. So it can take a while to get the green card. It is now a process. So once you've gotten approved for the 42B, then you have to go through the process of applying for the green card. So you could be looking at 1.5 to 2 years to get that. How are you doing? I'm good. Thanks for asking. I hope you're doing well too. If I've been here for months and I don't get my green card still, so definitely call them and let them know to see where was it sent, was it lost in the mail, was it lost in the mail as a result of a fault of theirs? If it was, then you can apply for an I-90 to get it replaced for free if it's on the USCIS's fault. So you need to call them though to get to the root of it. What does it mean, a waiver, if you're married and getting annulment? So annulment means you invalidate the marriage. It's almost as if it never happened. So that can go against a VAWA case. Definitely that can kill a VAWA case. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but I would say get a divorce, but do not go through with an annulment. An annulment will invalidate your VAWA. What's new for VAWA? So we haven't seen any major changes with VAWA. Everything is going as usual. I entered the States with B2 visa. Can I apply for an asylum if I can't go back to my country? Yes, yes. If you can't go back to your country, it's very important for you to talk to us, because then we have to get to the root of the claim to see if you do. Because one thing people don't understand is asylum is for those who cannot go back to their country because they're being persecuted, or they have faced past persecution on the basis of their nationality, their political opinion, their particular social group, or their political opinion. Right? If you were not targeted because of one of those categories, then asylum is unlikely to be approved. Now, that's where we have to talk to you to find out if one of those apply. For example, particular social group. That can be any social group. So we have to find out, is it because you are the member of a particular social group? Like, for example, in certain countries where if people identify as gay, they are attacked and persecuted. That is a particular social group. So they can claim asylum in order to not go back to the country that's persecuting them based on their sexual orientation, which is a particular social group. So get in touch with us. Let's talk. You have 1 year from the date of entry to apply for this. So please get on it. Otherwise, it gets extremely hard to get it. Came through the border, got married to the love of my life, a US citizen. Can I get my green card? So if you came through the border and you were paroled, then yes, but we have to, so that's where we have to check to see, were you paroled? What if my daughter is born, then I have a regular visa, will they send me back? Yes. So having a baby here alone isn't going to qualify you to stay. If your daughter is 21 or older, then they can apply for you to get your permanent residence. But it sounds like your baby was born here. Yeah, your daughter is born, and then you have a regular visa. Then yes, you are at risk. Thanks so much for sharing that live. This does make a difference. I get this information out there so people know that I'm here to answer questions, to empower you through the immigration journey, and also to give you valuable immigration updates that I've been doing so I'm keeping up with. This is how we stay informed. This is how we empower ourselves with knowledge about what's happening, and we're all in this boat together. We're all in this together. So start talking to your neighbors. And I here's what I say. Oftentimes, many people, yes, you have some people that are really just true racist, and that's why they are all for what is happening because of a racist agenda. But you do have some people that are truly ignorant about the consequences. They have never dealt with immigration. They have never spoken to an immigrant. And by sometimes just educating people, US citizens, educating people who they are just ignorant about who immigrants are, who this administration is targeting, that can make a difference, right? So when you're talking to your neighbors, sometimes it's necessary to speak with them, just have a conversation, have a discussion, so that they can see that perspective, because we really are in the same boat, and it's time to start educating others that had no care in the world about why they should care about this. Because we as Americans, I don't know, I think we have taken our rights, the luxuries of being an American, for granted. For we've been sleeping on our rights, and it was slowly dissolving, but now it's like we're falling off a cliff. So those listening, share this information, share the lives, share the videos so that people can see that I represent real people, that I represent the cause of real human beings who are no different than US citizens, no different than permanent residents, supporting their families, wanting a good life, just like all of us. That's what we have to do. I think for too long we have been separated by hate, and we need to start having perspective as one people, to be able to change things. That's how things change. All right. Is there any issue going into Florida from Georgia for your biometrics with your receipts? So I don't know what your situation is, but here we have a citizen who was detained based on a law that should not have been enforced to begin with. So if you are, for example, if you enter the country without permission, I can see where you could be exposing yourself to risk. But here's the deal. You're going for your biometrics appointment as well, and that's necessary. If you miss your biometrics appointment, you risk your case being denied. I don't know you. I'm not your attorney, so this is where it's very important to talk to your attorney about the risk, and maybe to take certain actions and measures to minimize your risk of any kind of exposure as you're going into Florida from Georgia. How long does it take to get a work permit for T visa application? So, right now, upon approval, you definitely get the work permit. And at this time, we're waiting for a lot of our clients to get the work permit after being granted the predetermination bona fide letter. The bona fide predetermination letter. Now, that the predetermination letter takes 2 to 3 months, so 70 days to 90 days. That's the timeline we're seeing. And then after that, we're expecting another 3 to 6 months of processing for work permits. So we're waiting to see that. The work permit that I did see it came in 6 months of the predetermination letter coming. Why would my case go into administrative processing? There may be a number of reasons, but if they've seen something in your case that they want to investigate further. Administrative processing, nobody wants to see that because it means that they can take the extra time. Sometimes that goes on for years without any consequences. So, you know, usually it's based on a more detailed background check that they're doing. My case shows no case found. Can you please suggest me anything? So if it says no case found, you have a receipt notice, it's time to, I don't know where, if it's at USCIS or where it's saying no case found, definitely call whatever agency has your case and talk to them on the phone, make sure that's real. How long does it take USCIS to send information to Social Security Administration after you have received your work permit? Right away. Now, sometimes I would get the social before I even get the work permit. So it's right away. And you can get in touch with Social Security Administration right away to go and get the work permit, the Social Security number, if they don't already send it. Thanks so much, Joseph. I really appreciate the birthday wish. Thank you. Who does the 30-day immigration rule in the US apply to? This is a registration rule. So those who entered without permission, those who are turning 14, who never got fingerprinted before, and Canadians who enter the country within and plan to stay more than 30 days. And also, so when we talk about those who are required to register, it also includes potential DACA recipients and parolees. So people who have been paroled through the parole programs. It also includes them if they have not applied for adjustment of status and they didn't come in with a visa or an I-94. If you get an interview note, but also get a cancel letter as well, what you think should you do? Call to make sure it was really canceled, but if you get the cancellation, maybe they scheduled it, then they canceled it. When get bona fide from T visa, how long does it take to get work permit? I'd say right now we're looking at about 3 to 6 months after that. But keep in mind that now we're under a new administration. We have to keep a close eye on how they're going to process these. Where are you located? Delray Beach, Florida. So we're in Delray Beach, Florida. We do represent clients in all 50 states and the globe. So you can call us no matter where you are. Can a caregiver employer petition for her caregiver workers? It may be possible, but if the workers are out of status, then it becomes harder. But definitely get in touch with us and we can look to see if that can be done. I have the letter to get permanent resident green card. Should I be worried because I didn't receive it? Call to see where it is. No. Thanks so much for sharing the live. I appreciate it. All right. So let me see. Is it okay if I travel for 3 days to Mexico for my birthday? I have a conditional green card. So just evaluate your risk. Make sure there's nothing in your background that's going to cause an issue. So I listed those reasons before that would put you at an increased risk. Criminal record, staying outside of the United States for longer than you should, activism for causes that this administration opposes. And if you're going from 2-year to 10-year, if there's something special going on in your case, like you're divorced, you want to be or separated, you want to be very wary of that as well. Can you help with J1 waiver? Absolutely. Give us a call. My visa was canceled in the end of February after I got married. I'm so sorry. Yeah. So that's the thing. Now people who are coming and getting married, they're going to be facing increased scrutiny. And if once you get married, they might start to say that shows you have immigrant intent. So these are things now you have to start to consider as part of the risk going between the US and the other country. Now, US citizens, if you got married to a US citizen and you decide after marriage while you're in the US that you want to stay with your spouse, there's adjustment of status that allows you to stay with your spouse while being here on a visa. And if you have a US citizen spouse, even you can continue to stay with them as long as you apply for the adjustment of status application, even if you overstay. So keep that in mind, that's one thing to consider. If you're already here, you get married and you build a life together, you do have that legal option to decide to stay with your spouse here. Let me tell you, staying here versus being back in your home country, it's faster here, it's longer when you're outside of the country. So if you do have the opportunity to make that decision, you can't be planning to do that as you're walking into the country or arriving into the country. But if you change your mind after getting married and being here, you want to stay with your spouse, you do have that right under the current laws if you're married to a US citizen. If you overstay your visa and now you have a 2-year green card, is it still a risk? No, that alone should not be a risk. Someone who has a 10-year B1, B2 waiver visa, is it safe to travel on vacation as usually did? Yeah, just make sure you don't have anything increased risk. Is the T visa approval rate to lessen since this new administration? We still have to see. We're still getting approvals through the T visa process. What is going to happen though is they're gonna focus more on screening these for fraud. They're going to be sending requests for evidence. There's going to be further delays. And then we have to see what that rate is going to be over time. What is the easiest way to immigrate as skilled worker? Through the EB3 process. That's going to be the way to do it. So EB3 is certification, which is taking about a year. And then after that, filing the petition. And then if they're in the country, if they are in the country and they maintain their status in a permissible way, it may be adjustment of status. If they're outside of the country, then it goes to the embassy. So right now, I would say you're looking at about 2 year process, 2 to 2.5 year process. If I'm an American citizen living abroad for the last 12 years, would like to call you to discuss an immigration matter for a family member. Definitely, we usually want to talk to the family member as well. If you're the petitioner, then that's great. But if it's solely about the family member, we want to definitely talk to the family member directly. Those who have a work permit through asylum are also at risk. I answered that, and I would say you are right now is you are in a very good position compared to others. All right, and I'm gonna come here again to YouTube. Greetings. Is there a way to check which application dates are getting processed and approved for T visas? No, not right now. Please, can I apply for change of status now since the application for adjustment of status is on hold? So adjustment of status is now, keep in mind that as long as you apply for adjustment of status within the permissible time, even if it's on hold, it should not affect you. It just means that you're going to have to wait for a longer period of time. What legal action can that man take? He was wronged so badly. Absolutely. So, right now, he's detained. It might come down to a habeas corpus if they don't, which they would have to file with the federal court to get him released. In addition to that, there have been lawsuits for wrongful, like these kind of wrongful detainers, and so he could sue for a wrongful detainer. So and sue for compensation in a civil court. So I can definitely see those two actions, just depending on how this goes. But he's probably going to be entitled to some compensation after this. My daughter still is in college but marry a military soldier. How can he move forward to file? So he can definitely file for her through the regular process. I-130, I-45. If she came into the country, so if she's in college and she has a student visa, he shouldn't have to be able to file any special documentation for her, but they would have to go through the marriage-based adjustment of status. Do legal permanent residents have to register? Absolutely not. Definitely, can you be our attorney? Give us a call. And what we do is we do an initial evaluation to make sure that what you want us to do, we can help you with. We don't want to waste your time. So we talk to you first and then we get started. So give us a call. We do have staff that answers calls 24/7. So give us a call and then they will make sure to tend to you and then talk to an intaker the next day. We have intakers 7 days a week that can evaluate whether you qualify and then get you started with us. I'm married for 15 months now, and my husband is living with another woman. What can I do in regards to the green card? I'm so sorry that that happened. So we'd have to talk to you, but this is definitely a red flag for mistreatment, and we'd want to know more about these facts. So give us a call, and if we could possibly look at the option of VAWA, where if you were mistreated by the spouse, you can apply on your own without um, without that spouse. It's completely confidential. Can you be detained at the interview for inadmissible over 20 years ago? Not aggravated felony. So they it's not, I would say that they are detaining people, but they usually it has to be for orders of removal, or yes, even possibly criminal. We'd have to understand, this is exactly why we have to do consultation with you to fully understand what is in your background and whether that does pose a threat for you at the interview. So definitely give us a call. Let's start there and advise you. Should someone call USCIS? I'm not sure what that's about. So, all right. Well, that's going to be it for me tonight. Happy Good Friday and Easter. Happy Easter, everybody who celebrates Easter. I will be back tomorrow where, I'll continue to answer questions and provide any updates to you. Now, go ahead, like, subscribe, follow, hit the notification bell. Make sure that you are engaging the posts and the videos so that people can learn about this information. They can know that I am a resource for questions. And that can do a lot for somebody. So share this information so people know that there are outlets where they can ask questions, where they're uncertain. I can't give particular legal advice. That's where I'm available. My attorneys are available to definitely do appointments to answer these questions and to work on your cases. So go ahead, do that. I don't have a particular time right now that I'm coming on, but what I say is like, follow, subscribe, hit the notification bell. So when I do go live, you'll get notification. And if you're available, you can join me as well. The replays for the lives are on YouTube. So if you have to leave the live early, you want to find the live, go to Getting the Green Card on YouTube. You can find my videos there. You can subscribe. And TikTok might be going away. So please join me on Instagram, Facebook. So Instagram, I'm Immigration Lawyer Sharifa. On Facebook, I'm ST Law Office. On YouTube, I'm Getting the Green Card. So we can continue to connect and I can continue to answer questions and give you updates. Have a great night, everybody, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Be safe. Bye bye.